May we have a roll call, please?
Chair Carney,
Here.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yeah, here.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
I'm here.
Commissioner Casal, here, and Commissioner Long.
Here. Great. Next is the approval of the agenda. Prior to the approval of the agenda, we have a resolution that has been added to Resolution 2024-08. Do you want to explain what this resolution is?
Hello? Oh, hi. Yes, Renee Jaddising, Executive Director. So this is related to the Lake Ida Church purchase, item 7K. The resolution was left out of the backup, so we just wanted to amend the agenda to add that in there. That's all. Nothing's changing with the item, it's just the resolution.
Right, we're
And
adding the
it's-
resolution to be contained in the backup.
Yes.
So that's great. All right, you have in front of you the agenda. If there are any additions, subtractions, nothing, then I need a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
and Chair Carney.
Yes. Okay. I guess we're ready for public comments already, yeah? Okay. So this is an opportunity for members of the public to comment on agenda and non-agenda items. If you would kindly come up to the podium, give your name and address. You will each have 3 minutes. Seeing no great rush, we're through that part. We have the consent agenda. Now, in front of you, you have the items that comprise the consent agenda, and we need a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Chair Carney,
Yes?
and Vice Chair Burns.
Yes.
You know, I just keep wanting to say all in favor, you know?
I know.
Okay, old business. The advisory committee follow-up. Renee?
Yes, okay, so this is a follow-up on the Redevelopment Advisory Committee. At the last meeting, we had a few members appoint several individuals for our committee. You'll see on the screen here, Commissioner Casal selected Sam Spears from Sub-Area 6. Vice Chair Burns selected Angela Hill from Sub-Area 4. Chair Carney selected Robin Keller from Sub-Area 5. We still have a few sub-areas to select from. So on the screen, you'll see here the individuals who are left to be appointed. There is one change. Mr. Harold Van Arnhem informed me that he would like to withdraw his application because he's on the DDA board at this time. So that would leave one person for Sub-Area 2, one person for Sub-Area 7, and then 4 for Sub-Area 8. And we have Commissioner Markert and Long are the two that are left to appoint. So we were maybe thinking that we could just accept the two from the one from Sub-Area 2 and then one from Sub-Area 7 and then kind of figure out how to handle Sub-Area 8, or we can leave it up to the board how you'd like to decide.
Well, I was thinking since Commissioner Marker got the short shrift on the last city appointment, that you can go first if you want and pick from 8, and then I'll just go with one of the ones that are left if you
So,
want.
so we are
Whatever
gonna
you
assume-
want to do.
We are going to assume that sub-area now 2 and sub-area now 7 are appointed because they are the only applicants.
Correct, yes.
Okay, so you have the choice of someone there in sub-area 8.
Yep.
So,
I'd like to nominate Lucica Suarez.
Okay.
Second.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yep.
Chair Carney,
yes.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
and Deputy Vice Chair Markert.
Yes.
Great.
So I think we should just do a vote to select the Sub-Area 2 and 7 just because we've done a motion for all the others. So to appoint Sub-Area 2 and Sub-Area
Okay,
7.
so we want a
Yep.
motion for
Just to, yeah.
sub-area 2?
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
Chair Carney,
Yes?
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
and Commissioner Casal.
Yes.
Yep, okay, and for sub-area 7?
Motion to approve Christina Lebrevelik. I'm sorry, hold on. Let me try
Le
this.
Brevelac.
Thank
It's
you.
a French name.
Mayor Carney.
Second.
All in
Sure.
favor?
Are we doing
I'm
all in
sorry.
favor?
Sorry. Chair Carney,
Yes.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
and Commissioner Long.
Yes.
So, having a French wife, I can
It's
do
my eyes
that.
too. I think that was an H, not even a B. But I'm not at a test, so
Hey.
it's okay.
All right. So next with RAC. At the last meeting, we discussed about the term for RAC. So this amendment just changes the resolution for RAC to what we mentioned at the last meeting. So basically, the term will be 1 year, and 3 months before the expiration of the first year, we'll place the RAC on the agenda for us to discuss if we want to continue or not move forward with the board. But we did add that purpose just so it's clear into the amendment, into the resolution.
Thank you.
So we
Sounds
just
good.
need,
So we need a motion to approve the amendment as amended.
So
The
moved.
resolution as amended.
Right, so moved.
Second.
Vice Chair Burns,
Yes.
Deputy Vice Chair Markert,
Yes.
Commissioner Casal,
Yes.
Commissioner Long,
Yes.
and Chair Carney.
Yes. So we're finished with old business. We now have the discussion of the Community Redevelopment Agency preliminary budget presentation.
okay.
You
I'll
are
start.
on.
Yes. Well, I will start. So Gina is going to be assisting with the presentation. I'll just start with some of the kind of the prep work. But basically, the overall needs for our redevelopment plan are listed on the screen from our redevelopment plan. Removal of slum and blight, land use, economic development, affordable housing, downtown housing, infrastructure, and recreational cultural facilities. So these are all the current overall needs. We are in the middle of a plan amendment, so you'll be seeing that in the next couple of months, but this is currently what we have now. And the amendment will largely be the same, but just wanted to note where we are starting from for this budget year. Also wanted to bring up our sunset. So CRAs are in existence, our CRA, for 60 years. We are looking at the last 20 to 21 years of existence. There was a change in 2019 where all CRAs would terminate by 2039 unless there was a vote by the governing body to extend to our longest term. So our longest term would be 2045, but our last amendment, I believe in 2014, our end date was 2044. So that's currently our date until we do our plan amendment. I would like to go for that extra year because we do get funds attached to that. But just something to keep in mind as we're budgeting, that we're only here for seemingly a short period of time. 20 to 21 years may pass pretty quickly, but as we're budgeting, just to keep that in mind, is that we're not here forever. Then this is just a list of our priorities.
When
Yes.
when do we need to do the extension to 2020? I mean, is that something we should do sooner rather than later?
Well, so we did the extension to 2044. So last year, the City Commission approved that.
Correct.
The extension to 2045 will be with our plan amendment. So it will be through this year. Our goal is to have the plan amendment done this year. So that would have to be approved by the CRA board, City Commission, and then the County Commission. So it's going to take some time, I think, to make the rounds. But as part of that, the date we're including in there is our longest term of 2045.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a list of our fiscal year priorities that were established last year and an update on where we are with all of them. I won't read through everything, but we are progressing along through our projects pretty well. As you'll see with the budget that we're proposing for next year, it's really largely continuing on a lot of these projects unless there's any direction from the commission to change anything. But our focus is really to press forward. A big focus will be West Atlantic always. You see at the bottom there is development strategies for CRA properties on West Atlantic. We did that study, and now we are looking to start actually looking to RFPs and what's going to be next steps. And here's a list of the city projects that we're working on that are funded by the CRA and are being managed by the city. All of them are in progress. I mean, I think we're making really good strides, working very well with the city to get things moving. There really isn't anything lagging. Things do take time, unfortunately, but everything is moving along pretty well. Here's a list of other ongoing activities that we have. We still are managing the Green Market, and we have the SNAP program there as well. Arts Warehouse is also a program of the CRA. We added recently the CRA co-working space at 98 Northwest 5th Avenue. We'll obviously continue with our funding assistance programs, groundbreakings, ribbon cuttings, demolitions, acquisitions, and general maintenance and repair. I think those kind of cover the big picture items that our day-to-day work. Open items for discussion is the future of A-Guide. That's one that we said we'll wait on and continue on funding for another year, but it's something I'd like to keep on the radar is what we'll do with it going forward in the future. And then obviously any other suggestions from the board, we're open. This is the time for it. I would say maybe we go through the presentation, and then if there's anything to add or change, we can do it at the end unless you want to comment now, unless there's something you're thinking immediate.
No, I think we should go through the
Okay.
presentation and help us develop some thoughts.
All right, we'll keep going. Okay, so here's just Arts Warehouse. This is the co-working space. Everyone's seen images of the co-working space that we're doing there, and Northwest 5th and Green Market. We have the dates through next year. We're still going through the process at the city, but we're proposing a similar schedule: winter market and then the summer market.
Mine is always different than everybody else's.
All right, so I'll ask Gina to kick in now with the numbers. Yes.
I
Good afternoon. Gina Clayton, the Finance and Operations Director.
Can't hear you.
Sorry.
Is that better?
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 Good,
Better?
thank you.
They can't. Okay, sorry. Excuse me. Okay. So this slide here is based on our budget by sub-area, as you can see. And the majority of it right now is in the northwest neighborhood, and that really represents the funding for Pompey Park. The majority in this budget, we have 45 million in that budget. And if you actually look on what we had from the carry forward from this year, the current fiscal year, we had 40 million in the budget for that. So we added another 5 million there, and this is the same, just in a pie graph, different depiction of the numbers and where the money is currently, proposed to be spent. There, and all right, so here's our Clean and Safe program. This year, the city has requested approximately 5 million for positions, as well as the reimbursables, and it is an increase of 23% from the previous year, and we did put it in there this year as a comparison for you to see.
So I'll just add in here with the police request. There was a request for the $450,000 for T3 patroller, police technology, and wrap restraints. A lot of that, the funding there, will actually be for the camera program. So that'll be extending the downtown camera program to 95. We funded part of that this fiscal year, and then there's an ask for the coming fiscal year. The details are in tab number 5 about the city request, but part of it is for the cameras.
And I also did want to highlight, as far as our TIF revenue for this year, that we did base the city revenue TIF money based on the millage rate of the 0.62611 at this point in time. So I understand, this will all be adjusted should you guys approve a different millage rate. And then we also have a couple open items. I did include an increase for the property insurance, which was based on our acquisitions and the increased values in the properties. They did tell me that our properties went up in value like 40% from last year, but we are going to get a more firm numbers in August, they told me, so that number might change. Any questions? Sorry.
Can you just tell me a little bit about the fire prevention and life captain position?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, please do.
Why do we have a captain, number one, going essentially checking whether or not the people's fire inspections are, the rank of captain at $250,000?
I don't believe
The person that comes by my office every year, and sometimes it's a different person, they don't carry the rank of captain. So the role of these people are to come in and inspect to see whether or not they meet the compliance for the fire code, and they have their extinguishers ready and they have the thing. So explain to me why we need someone at $250,000.
Actually, that was a request of the city.
This was added in some years ago, and it's been kind of carrying on.
I wasn't here then.
Right. No, of course.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us. This was like
None of us.
So this is a long.
This has been a while that we've had the
They
fire
assign
position.
It's a good, nice little
Yeah,
cushy
and
job.
this was actually one that we've told them in the past that
Right.
really wasn't something that we should be doing.
Right, well,
Does
as a
some of this fund the
position.
defibrillator program that we're rolling out?
No, this is just the they do the inspections in the businesses downtown.
Okay.
So we're actually looking into see if the position changed because this is a $50,000 increase from last year to this year.
Because there's a new captain.
Which is right.
There's a
So
new captain with longer service in the department.
So we're
paying
trying
rate,
to
but that's absurd.
right. So we're gonna
And there's a
get more
contemplation
information.
of a pay
I'm
increase.
sorry?
There was a contemplation of a pay increase, I believe, in that department for those higher level. Could I ask a question as well? 10 police
certainly.
officers. I almost wonder, Mayor, if the CRA district, probably utilizes the most police in the area of the city.
Per
And
square
I-
foot, probably, yeah.
100%. So we have quite a few more police. I almost am wondering, and only because we are in the financial position to do so, Mayor, if we should take on more of the police in the city temporarily. Renee, don't panic, because the one of the things that we learned was there's a lot more activity at night on Atlantic, and a lot of police are utilizing their time there. That's our area, the northwest, southwest, some of the areas that are more of concern, downtown Atlantic. Those are the areas that are being patrolled. Those are the areas we're covering. I think we should maybe, because the city is in financial
They're
flex.
also in the CRA district in Northwest Southwest, so
No, that's what I just said.
Yeah.
But I'm saying there, if you look at the map of the city and you think about 10 officers, more applied to those areas might be beneficial.
Well, we actually added 4 last year, so we're up. Yeah, so if it's kind of how they present it was separate, but down below it says
Right, but there's
it doesn't-
over,
yeah,
how
there's
many
4
do we
additional
have?
ones they've added.
We have
I know, but
14.
we have
14
so,
plus 2
you know
sergeants.
How many we have in the city? Relatively speaking, right? The number is low.
Well, I think, we have to be careful not to be like supplanting what city services are doing. So the
I'm not
officers we
suggesting
fund are
that.
on top of the city service. So there's
Exactly.
a standard,
This was
right?
in addition
It's in
to-
addition to the
Right,
city
I understand,
service.
but most of the activity that we are experiencing the need for police is in our mapped area.
Yes, I think if we have to establish what the city standard service is
Okay.
to make sure that we're not paying for those. So if
We don't
there's
wanna- right,
there's
understood.
additional, I think that's why we added the 4 because there are actually 4 new
Right.
that are just in downtown, not northwest southwest. These are just downtown in the Clean and Safe area. So not in the neighborhoods actually. This is the map that shows.
Just on the Atlantic Avenue.
It's just Atlantic Avenue up and on 2nd, a little bit down onto 5th Avenue, but it doesn't cover all Northwest Southwest, all that. So if we wanted to do something different in Northwest Southwest, it would be outside of Clean and Safe. It would be a
Right.
separate add-on, basically. But as long as that baseline is established of what the city service is, what we would pay is on top of.
Right.
So I think it's hard to justify
I know
paying what
you're
it is, paying now because the city has been established at what they're paying for their officers, and we would just be
Right.
taking that on. The 4 that were added were new. They were new
Right.
hires. So,
Thank you.
yes. But if there's like the cameras, some of those technology things, because the statute actually does call out specific policing innovations. It's one of the things that is in there. So I've spoken with PD to say if there's anything else that you can consider an innovation, that's something that we can definitely fund because it's listed in the statute. And that's where I guess the program for Clean and Safe with the officers came from. But if there's any technology things on top of that, then we could pay for that.
And forgive me, what is the streetscape supervisor's duty? On page, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Yeah.
so the streetscape, general maintenance, and then the electricians, they kind of like they go through the downtown. They're doing the light poles, and
Okay.
that's all of the administrative part of the Clean and Safe. So they're overseeing the general maintenance workers and the
Perfect.
teams that are downtown.
Thank you.
And then the downtown manager, the bottom, is the person who oversees all of it in neighborhood services.
Yeah, okay.
Is that enough for pressure cleaning of the downtown sidewalks? We get more complaints than anything about the condition of the sidewalks and sometimes the garbage receptacles. But I'm just wondering, did we budget enough? How many times does that, you don't have to answer this, you can
I can-
Remember,
we
this
can
is in
find-
addition to what the
I know,
city
but-
does.
Right.
No, no.
Sam's group got starts pressure cleaning.
I understand. No, I
But
understand.
it's a good question.
I'm just
because
trying
to-
I've heard the same complaints.
Yeah.
We can find out. So I know that they have a contract. This is based on an amount that's in neighborhood services as a contract.
Okay.
And it's changed year to year.
Don't bother if
Um,
it's a contract.
It is, yeah, it's a contract,
It's fine.
so it fluctuates. But if we want more service, we can
Yes.
ask. We can ask. I'll ask them. It's fine. Okay.
Can I bring up something
Sure.
we've talked about? We've got the $26,000 for gardening and landscaping, and I'm sensitive to some of your comments about the dead trees that we have and the stumps that are out there. Will some of that be able to go toward getting those trees dug out and then replanted?
I can ask, because I know that there's a point that's clean and safe, and
Yeah,
then
no.
there's a point that's parks and rec. So
Yeah,
I'm not sure
I
that
know.
line always, but I can find out, because some of them are in the downtown. I think the clean and safe district ends at 12, so it
Yeah.
wouldn't go to the gateway. But the ones that are going east,
Yeah.
maybe that.
There
could
are a
be.
fair, Tom brought it up a while ago, there are,
About 3 months ago.
yeah,
About these stumps.
but there are a lot of stumps, and I'm not sure if you can touch it with this money or not, but if not, we should address it with someone else.
I can ask.
Thank
Definitely.
you.
No problem.
You're the best.
Thank you. All right. You ready?
Yes, continue.
All right.
please.
Okay. These amounts here that are requested from our contracts with the city, where we fund the positions and the IT services there, or IT services that are provided to the CRA. And again, these, and of course, then you have the life captain position. That's the one that went up a significant amount from the previous year. And these are just all part of our ILAs that we fund every year. Nothing new there. And we did, I know the city had requested only $300,000 for the curb appeal amount, but we as a CRA put in the 6 to hopefully induce people to actually use the money and, kind of promote those programs within the neighborhood. And the streetscape maintenance, that's an ILA with the city. It's in there at the contract is $100,000, but we don't ever really pay that much right now. The only thing we're seeing are some water bills for irrigation and some landscape in that area. And here we have our history of the funding for the city tennis tournament. And again, the amount is the $905,000, as in previous years. That's what was requested. And these are our city CIP projects that are ongoing. The real significance in what the city requested was in the area of the Northwest area infrastructure. For the alley, they requested $28 million, and we have put in the budget approximately 1.6, which is a carry forward from this fiscal year. And we also have the amount, the $45 million, as we discussed earlier, about the Pompey Park project. But those probably won't, I don't know when that's going to be starting personally, but those funds won't be expended this year, except for maybe some planning.
So I'll just comment on the Northwest neighborhood. So the request for $28 million is, just a request. I think they're still in design for the project, and there's an understanding that it's a longer-term project. We have, this part of the funds in our budget this year are for the lobbyist services, the federal lobbyists, and a grant writer to hopefully get, we're hoping half maybe of the funds paid for through federal grants if possible. I think the cost estimates for the Northwest Neighborhood Project are about $78 million at this point. So it's substantial. It's something that the CRA has committed years past to do, and also the Southwest Neighborhood. So the 28 is just kind of, I think they just placed that there with the understanding that we are not going to be able to fund that all this year, but that hopefully we'll be able to get a grant. I've talked to the city about possibly taking debt if the city does, or maybe we could, to help fund this project, or if the city does, we pay the debt service. But there are different mechanisms we can look at, and it'll probably be more closer to the time to start thinking a little more seriously about it next year as the design process goes forward. But I think the request is kind of showing that it's almost time. This project is coming along pretty well, and we're hoping that by next year we'll be maybe under construction or towards the end of next year. So here's just, and Pompey Park obviously is the one that's going forward much sooner. So the bids are received. They should be hopefully presented to the City Commission at some point soon for them to start on this project. But we are, the proposed budget amount that we have is $45 million. That's based on the cost estimates of $45 million. We don't know the actual project cost, so just to kind of be prepared, it could be more, it could be less. Once the bid process is complete and negotiations are going, we'll have a better idea. But we're proposing just to at least have the 45 because we know that's what was estimated, and if we need to put more in, it'll be a little bit of an easier lift than, you know, going for a huge number of, and they just don't have enough. And then here's the imagery for Northwest Neighborhood. Both projects I'll mention have a website, so it's listed there, PompeyParkProject.com and NorthwestNeighborhoodProject.com, that show updates. It shows the outreach and presentation from some of the past meetings that have happened over the years. But the image on the left shows all of the pink are the streets that are proposed to be improved, and the green are the alleyways. So it's a very large project. It'll be done in 3 phases, but this is a complete overhaul, underground to the street level, landscaping, everything will be improved with this project.
Long time overdue.
It's time. But I will say, after this is Southwest, so we're not stopping here. That was the next priority neighborhood. It was Osceola Park, which is complete, Northwest Neighborhood, and then Southwest. Okay, so here's a list of some of the CRA managed projects. We have the draft work plan and your backup that kind of goes through these projects a little bit more, but they are very much the same. The Northwest 600 block, Northwest 800 block, those are just, you know, we're looking at plans for those. For the 800 block is the container block, so we are putting that out to bid at some point. 600 block would be housing. Potentially, you should be seeing images of that in the next few months. Also, land acquisitions. This fiscal year, we budgeted $7 million. We've spent maybe just about half of that at this point. So the coming fiscal year, we would like to budget. We were budgeting $700,000, but we had to kind of shift some things around with the budget. So we took funds out of the acquisitions just to get it balanced, because that's obviously an intangible. We don't know the acquisition number, but you know, we would like to try always to have as much as possible in there to be ready, just in case a good opportunity comes up. The 98 Northwest 5th Avenue project, the funding in there is for signage. We'll probably start this fiscal year, so that number will adjust, but just, you know, signage and any other little fixes that come up with the building. But that project is complete and is occupied. 95 Southwest 5th Avenue, this is the new construction project, 2-story commercial building that will be finished with construction by the end of the year. So this is one that we've in the past spoken in past boards about having like a medical campus here potentially, but it's something that our board will need to take up as we get closer to the finish of construction. And also demolitions. So we received grant funding from the Solid Waste Authority over the last 2 years to demolish the 700 West Atlantic Avenue building and a small parking lot on Northwest 7th. So this is something we have to actually add back in the budget there, but it's a grant that we're receiving to demolish those structures. But the work will start this year, so this may adjust as we go forward, but I just wanted to list it here in case it carries forward to next fiscal year. And last on here is Arts Warehouse maintenance and major repairs. So there's a repair we need to do to the flooring at Arts Warehouse. When it was built, there's been some shifting and there's cracking in some of the floors. We've checked and everything's fine with the building, but we will need to re-pour some of the ground there. We don't know the extent or how much it's going to cost at this point. Part of the consent agenda was hiring Curry Soward's firm to do architectural for that work and engineering for it, because they did the work originally. So we thought it'd be good to have the same firm doing the work, and we're proposing to budget $800,000. I don't know if it will cost that much, but it may be a pretty large undertaking, and when we get into it. And here are funding assistance programs, largely the same. We have available programs right now, Paint Up and Signage, which is district-wide, and also our project consultancy and design services and site development assistance are only available to tenants in CRA properties. So we are proposing to budget $1 million for these projects, and at some point we have to talk about opening these grants back up. They used to be open to everyone district-wide, but we had quite a few businesses closing over the last few years, so we thought let's focus on the buildings that we have, because we do have several commercial buildings, and then look at opening it back up at some point. We also paused a few grant programs early 2023. That was our historic facade easement grant, development infrastructure assistance, land value investment, and our job creation bonus. The last three relate to more developer projects, much more larger scale. They cater to like over 50% commercial, several thousand square feet, which we don't really have a lot of that in our district. I don't think we've ever done one of these since I've been here. So we paused these to see if we reassess and revamp. What we see more of are the site development assistance for the smaller interior builds as opposed to the larger. But they are still programs that are in our toolbox in case we ever need to utilize them for something in the future. And then here's just additional projects that may not have listed on the budget numbers, but they're included within our budget that I just wanted to mention. The first is the ADU duplex LDR amendments study with the city. So we started this a few years ago to look at accessory dwelling units. This is something Commissioner Casal has been big on, yes. So the test area is the set, northwest, southwest in the residential areas, about how lots could accommodate accessory dwelling units and smaller homes or smaller structures on these properties. So there is a consultant that I believe is hired now by the city, and they'll be kicking that off next month. So you'll definitely see more about that coming up. And this is one that I spoke about sharing the steering committee that we have for the set transformation plan. We would also propose to share the steering committee with the accessory dwelling unit study because they all kind of complement each other. It's in the same area. We're also working on the disparity study with the city. It's something kind of like city-led, but we're in the city. We have to follow the city's purchasing policy, so more to come on that, but it's something that we are working on. We're also proposing just maintenance of our house, 20 North Swinton Avenue. It's a historic home. We haven't really done a major look and major maintenance in about 5 years, so it's time. We need to paint, and I know there's boards that need to be replaced on the outside. And we have the newly acquired 102 Northwest 5th Avenue. This is the building right next to 98 Northwest 5th Avenue, our new building we completed. So we want to look at that and see what we need to do there to improve it. Next is security cameras. So we wanted to start an initiative to kind of tie in our cameras to the city program. We talked to the city about getting a quote to utilize the same programs, the same cameras, so that they all tie in together with the PD program. So that's just something we want to do. We right now have 3 or 4 different camera systems at different buildings that don't talk to each other. So we kind of need to fix that and tie into the city. And then next is the Arts Warehouse, which we spoke about already, and maintenance and improving parking lots. So just something we always do every year is how to spruce up our parking lots that we own, especially in the northwest, southwest 5th Avenue. Last is a small project. It's a Carver Square home project. There's a potential about assisting with the relocation of a fire hydrant. This is kind of closing out the Carver Square project. Nothing major, but just wanted to bring it up because it was a disturbance with some of the neighbors in the area that they've come to us for assistance. So.
I have a question about that.
Yes.
So I remember I didn't know the fire hydrant was included, but the mail, so how is that coming? Are they going to be moving to have individual mailboxes or? So I don't know. So there were 20 homes that were built for the Carver Square project with Pulte Homes, and at the time, the fire hydrant was on the CRA property where it should have been in the right of way. So there was an easement placed in like kind of like a backyard of one of the homes. And then the mailbox tree was put there instead of individual mailboxes because of how it was put in as a single unit. So we've reached out, the city's reached out, many people have reached out to the postmaster to find out if they'll allow individual mailboxes, and they've said no repeatedly. Because they're going in the direction of having the mailbox tree. So when this was permitted and brought in, it came in as one. But on the resident side, they're individual homes. There's not a planned
single-family homes.
Right. It's not a planned community. So I spoke to the individual who has the easement and told him, hey, get all your neighbors, start reaching out, see what you can do. So he's still been in that process. But, it's really, the mailbox is on the side it's on the street, basically. It's right on the sidewalk. So everyone has to walk through and go to that mailbox. So maybe we can look at a letter, or if we need to do to help this situation, because it's not really right for the residents. They all are coming through this one individual's area essentially to get to the mailbox right on the sidewalk. So the residents are concerned that their mail is exposed to everyone who's coming down the street there. So, and then that's where the fire hydrant is. So I've spoken with Hassan about moving that fire hydrant just right on the other side of the sidewalk. So he's looking into it. I told him it's something that it wouldn't be very expensive, so something the CRA can help with. I think the bigger lift is the mailbox, because the postmaster has been very adamant about not allowing individual mailboxes. So, but they're individual homes. It's just how it went in for permitting, because it went in as 20 homes as one. That's how they're considering it. So, more to come on that. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think we should, I would definitely be happy to write a letter.
Okay.
I'd be definitely happy to CC it to Lois Frankel, who will then talk to the Postmaster General of the United States.
That would be
and
great.
See if we can get them individual post boxes.
That's all they just want, individual. That's all they want, just individual.
That's ridiculous.
Yes, and the gentleman wants to put a fence in his backyard, but he has that easement, so he doesn't want to go forward with the fence when he could maybe there's more yard that he could potentially have if that easement's removed. So.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing she loves to do. Good.
So I'll definitely follow up on that with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And I mentioned these already, but the longer term big capital improvement projects are Pompey Park, Northwest Neighborhood Infrastructure, and Southwest, which is a future project. And here's just our general property map. So here's our suggested focus areas for the coming fiscal year is to complete existing projects and continuing existing programs. Look for more land acquisition, especially for affordable housing, because land is just not available. Unfortunately here, it's very difficult. Continue with the infrastructure and assess development opportunities for West Atlantic Avenue.
Could I ask a question?
Yes.
On that last item, opportunities for West Atlantic. When I was here previously, we were working on the grocery store. Was going to be on the 600 block, I believe, at that time, and then now here we are, and the plans are slightly different, because I think now you're contemplating it on the 700, is that?
So the way the consultant drew it up is that there could be...
It could go either.
It could go on the 6 or the 800. The 7 is too small, but it could be
700 is
6.
too small, but
yes.
6 or 8. But is there a way we can start that process? As we know, when we were working with the developer and he was doing the whole project, it was very difficult because without us actually giving him the land, he could not get the contract with Publix. There were so many problems.
I remember.
Yeah. So the question is, should we start pursuing that sooner rather than later?
Isn't the lawsuit still outstanding?
The lawsuit
it's,
still-
but the
it's-
lawsuit is not about the property. It's simply about damages, right?
It's
so the property
damages.
is free and clear for us to do what we want with. And
It
I
is.
feel like at a minimum, we should start as just that part of it, the grocery store. The engagement, you don't even have to pick where it's going right now, but just to begin the conversation again with Publix to figure out what it would take to get them here.
Sure, if that's what the commission would, I know they're interested. Their representative has reached out in the past, so we could start just
Do
even
you
just to
need a
start
consensus?
I thought that we were already in the process of, I didn't think that this was a dead situation. I thought that we were.
I think
when we
it's
were
been
called
dead.
in to look at these different plans that the designer, I thought that we were still in the process of that. So I didn't think it was like a dead conversation.
Well, we
Well-
aren't engaged with Publix though. We don't have the grocer. We have the property,
Okay,
but we
but
don't.
we may not want Publix now. I mean, it could be any grocer. So I thought that we were still looking for some conversation or whatever for putting a grocer there, some grocer that would, benefit the community.
Does this require an RFP?
It will. Eventually, it will.
I think we, I think if it's not, I had always thought the lawsuit was tied to the land.
No.
It's not tied.
If
It's
such a
damages.
strong function of damages.
Right.
I say we
It
should
is.
move to
It is
get
damages.
this piece redeveloped. They've been wanting to redevelop since I was in the commission the last time.
Yes.
We discussed it when we were here 12 years ago. The redevelopment.
All
was
of this
brought.
work going out in West Atlantic, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing all of it start finally.
Right.
Yes.
But I thought that was always part of the conversation.
It is,
I
and
didn't know that was
nothing
a deal.
changed.
No,
right.
it's not about having it or not having it. It's always been having it.
Right.
But the point that I was trying to make is when we included it in part of the whole project, and then we
Right,
went out for an
right.
RFP on the 3 blocks, it was very difficult to complete the grocery store part because you had to go through the whole process of development, and they needed a guarantee that they were going to have the land before Publix would engage with them. And because we own the land, we are in a particularly good place to start that engagement right now and get that
Absolutely.
process going, separate from all the other development.
Right, and I
And-
thought that we had split that up and that it was not going to be one big lump anymore.
Well, you haven't really done that.
We haven't really spoken about it just because we're still in the lawsuit phase. I will caution everyone what they're saying because we are
Right.
going to trial probably in September. So it is about damages, but I think the concern was that we just want to make sure that it's all closed before we're going up to the trial
Okay.
that'll be a couple weeks long in September. So that was kind of let's kind of wait till we get through that
Oh,
to
okay,
move
that's
to the
fine.
next. But everything's still on the table at this point. That we definitely need to do a lot more community outreach and engagement to get people back involved in the conversation with this project. But we were starting to draw what we want. I think we were doing the prep work. So if we can reach out to Publix, absolutely, we have the contact.
And then just come back
Or-
to us and see that the door is still open and what it will take to get that done, because I think the residents have been
It may
waiting for
not
that.
be Publix,
Right.
I
think,
understand,
yeah.
but they,
I mean,
I think the door's open with Publix. I will say, I think with the representatives we were talking to, I believe are still definitely interested. I can say that. But if that's what we want, I think we have to decide
we
that.
certainly want a grocery store there.
So
Right,
what kind of
so-
timeline for the lawsuit to be finished?
Well, we're hoping trial will be in September,
Okay.
and it's a 2-week trial, and then depending on what happens, there may be an appeal process. But I think once at least we get the trial underway, then we should really start looking to move forward.
Okay.
But the point of us starting to do the sketches and hire the current consultant is that so we can start thinking about what we want. So
so
part of
what
that
other
was-
grocery stores would people recommend she reach out to? If she's going to reach to Publix to see if they're still
there's-
on the
who
table.
do you have?
There's Aldi's.
Aldi's,
Right.
They're in I read the other day in Wall Street Journal, they're in an expansion mode.
Yeah,
They just
so
opened
there you
another
go.
store someplace in Palm Beach County.
Yeah, we don't.
They just
we need
opened
something
one.
that's going to benefit the community.
Right.
It's not something that's outpriced that they need an economical
Yes,
grocery
Publix
store
is not
that
cheap.
provides
Yeah.
many services. Yes.
I agree.
Aldi's is slightly less expensive, but I don't know how much.
I think we need to consider the scale of whatever grocery we put in there, given how close this is to 95. I don't want to create a traffic nightmare either, where everyone commuting just hops off 95 to go to like a large-scale grocer and creates a traffic nightmare. So I just feel like we should consider the scale of whatever type of grocery we have there to ensure it's kind of community-oriented and not something that people are going to like just come in for.
Yes.
So maybe some kind of traffic study would be in order as well when we get to that point. I don't know. I just want to make sure that we're considering all the
That's a good
variables.
point. I mean, this site really shouldn't be a superstore kind of site. It's really, we
a
want a
neighborhood.
good, strong neighborhood grocery store
Yeah.
that
Right.
has all the amenities in it and services and things like that.
Yeah,
Maybe
absolutely.
built-in pharmacy, maybe built-in whatever.
So what if we schedule a workshop for September? So that way the trial's supposed to start early September, I hope, unless it changes. So what if we do a workshop in late September? We can have Jess, because he did all the drawings, come in, have these conversations, and we can just kind of workshop it and talk it through after the trial starts.
Thank you. I like that.
And can I ask a question? I wasn't here, obviously, when the decisions were talked about and made and all that. There's a couple of grocery stores down there now,
They don't have enough supply,
but they'll go out of business,
and
right?
they're also the price
The ones
can
on
be
Atlantic?
high.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, there's the meat market, and then that's not providing enough.
Yeah, I'm just asking. I don't know the answer. I
it's-
just didn't know if
We're
that was
talking a
considered.
full-service
I
grocery
understand.
store,
Yeah,
so
those
people
will
can.
be, they're going to be always in and out, but
Yeah.
we're talking about a real grocery store
Right. Yeah.
where you meet
Right.
your friends in the produce department.
That's right.
We're out-
Cheese
we're
for me.
always thinking
Squeeze
of
the
the
melons.
produce department in Publix.
Right, so we'll put the workshop September, short of something happening with the other situation we're dealing with, but we'll prepare for a workshop and we'll bring it all out, because not everyone was here, like you said, when the first everything was presented. I think we met individually, but we all haven't actually spoken together about this. So I think that would be good as a workshop.
And I have 40 years background in grocery retail,
Oh, well, you'll
so
be part of the team.
I can probably help.
Perfect.
Attention Kmart shoppers.
Exactly. 3 light special.
Paper or plastic?
All right. Okay.
Thank you, Renee.
No problem. Okay. So next, this is kind of towards the end of the presentation, but just something to keep in mind that this year, through the legislative session, there was a House bill that was passed that outlined procedures for special districts. So they did several things. Some are inactive, but there also was a provision to add goals and objectives for each program undertaken by the district. So there are many more special districts in Florida besides CRA. We're a dependent special district, but there are special dependent districts or dependent independent. We just happen to fall under this, and we actually have our own reporting requirements under the CRA statute, but this kind of is something that we have to do. But I just wanted to keep it in mind that we will have to make some kind of procedure. There isn't really like a process of how to do this. I'm at the Florida Redevelopment Association. I'm on the board, and we've been talking about what this even means. There may be a manual of some sort, that a special district manual, that this will be included, but we're all kind of scratching our heads at the same time trying to figure it out. But I just wanted to bring it up to everyone's attention that we will have to establish goals and objectives for what we're doing for the year and prepare an annual report to be published next December. Our CRA annual report and the CRA statute is due by March 31st, and they're two different things. So just more to come, but just wanted to put it on everyone's radar again that it's something we'll have to think about. Some CRAs have talked about making it very simple, like what's your outline in your plan? Slum and blight elimination, affordable housing, just very simple, and your projects are what you did to accomplish those things. It could be that, it could be something else, but it just was passed a few months ago and nobody really knows at this point. So we're working through this.
I looked at the bill after we had talked about it. Really, in some of this discussion, it really isn't designed for an active CRA.
No.
You know, it's really designed for, like, there's a lot of special districts out there which have been around for a long time,
Right.
and they really don't do anything. They were political pet projects of
Right.
people in neighborhoods that created them. So,
Yes.
my guess is whatever you send them is going to be satisfactory.
Yeah, and the requirement is just to post it online, so it's not something to send or do anything. So we're going to come up with something that satisfies this. That in working with the other CRAs, there also has been some discussion at the FRA with the lobbyists if we want to go back to Tallahassee and say, hey, carve out something for CRAs, but then you're also back on the radar. So it's kind of a balancing act. We want to just, stay under the radar, keep going forward. I don't think it's going to be extremely burdensome, but I think the way everyone's kind of looking is like, what are your general goals and what you're doing and what did you do for the year? And at the end of the year, what did you do to accomplish those things? Something pretty simple.
I think we should go to Tallahassee as long as the date is in proximity to the Miami game. And then I'll go.
All right, one vote. We got one vote for change. Okay, so that's all I have. So you have the books in front of you are all the budget. We have the draft work plan, again, which will change depending on where the millage goes. But you have all the information here. And I also emailed it to you with a OneDrive link for each individual commissioner. So we'll change that OneDrive link as the budgeting process goes forward. But that's what we have so far. So today is really just for you all to comment if you want to make any changes or keep going forward. We have the feedback that you gave through the presentation, but if there's anything else, let us know.
Great. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Comments by the executive director, or with those, them, they, those?
Oh, that's it. That was it. Just the budget, so I guess we're moving forward.
They scratched out comments by board attorney, so board attorney has no comments today.
I learned a long time ago, sometimes lawyers should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
And this is one occasion.
I should have followed that advice. I really should have followed that advice.
Still time.
Still time. Comments by Commissioner Long.
Yeah, just a quick one. In our budget conversations at the city, one of the presentations outlined potential, like this scenario of reducing the allocation to the CRA. And Renee, you and I had a chance to talk about that subsequently, and it did seem like there was some legal concerns with that consideration that I wasn't aware of before our conversation. So I'm just kind of hoping you could, share that with the rest of the commission and help clarify that for us.
Sure. Well, I got a couple calls too, just I think a little bit confusion of how the information was presented last week, that it looked like the CRA was going to be given less funding or like a reduction, but our allocation is pretty much set, so that can't be changed. Otherwise, there would be a legal issue because we do have an interlocal agreement with the county and us and the city, so it can't be changed unilaterally. What can happen is if the millage is different, then we just receive less funds, so it's not like realized money, I guess, but so there may have been some misunderstanding of how it was shown. I think people thought that it was actually money taken from the CRA, where it's not. It's just a millage rate difference.
Yeah.
That's what it was. So, yes.
Thank you, Renee.
No problem. Just for those
Clarifying
listening too, yeah. From what I understand, there isn't a proposed to reduce what's coming to the CRA. It's just a different millage.
Yeah, there was a lot of confusion over that. I've gotten a lot of emails and calls with people
Yes.
concerned that we were going to change the agreement about
Well,
what
the
we
slide
allocate.
indicated such.
Right,
That was
exactly. It was
It really wasn't presented very well.
Right. But the millage, as Gina mentioned, we did the budget based on a higher millage. So if we
Right.
do adjust the millage at the city, we'll have to go back and rework the numbers. So that'll come out of different projects. Because
Understood.
CRAs, we don't have reserves. Everything is budgeted. So any
Right.
adjustment on that end will come out of a project somewhere. So
Thanks for clarifying
Sure,
that.
no
Appreciate
problem.
it.
The commissioner, the executive director remembered something she forgot to
I
mention?
did. I didn't get to jump in there. We went too fast. Sorry. So I just wanted to note a couple things. We had a home dedication on June 26th. This is with Habitat. They actually presented this to us. This was from the women's bill that we did. There's two families, the Baker family and Wilfork families, who are now proud owners of these two new homes. These was a CRA lot that was sold to us by a local family, and it is now the home to two new families who have waited to be in Delray. I think they waited a very long time to be in Delray, so I just wanted to, recognize them and just say congratulations. This is one of the great things that we do. We buy lots. We're able to dispose of them at a very, very, very reduced rate to usually our local nonprofits, and this is the result. New families in Delray. And also, I wanted to recognize our tenants on the 700 West Atlantic Avenue building. So this is the green building. It's been there for many, many years. It's part of our budget presentation. I mentioned we received a Solid Waste Authority grant to demolish this building. But all the tenants are moved out, and they've all found great homes. But I wanted to see if the board was interested in asking them to come to our meeting next month, just to recognize them or give them a little something for being there so long. The first tenant, Blanc Fresh, was a CRA tenant for 10 years, but he has been in the building for 34 years.
Wow.
He actually told me that he regrets not purchasing it when he had the opportunity years ago. But he's been a long-standing business on West Atlantic Avenue.
The first thing I asked you, to your buying, I said, what about the barber shop?
Yes.
That's the first thing I know that place well.
Yes. So he's actually moved to Hatcher Construction. We have a land lease with Mr. Hatcher, and he has graciously given our renting space to the barber. So we'll be planning a ribbon cutting for him very soon. We gave him a CRA grant, but I think just being on West Atlantic Avenue for 34 years is something to be celebrated a little bit. Hatcher Construction was a tenant of ours too. He now has his building. EJS, we all know, he has moved on to another space. And Klein's was also a tenant of the CRA for 10 years. So just thought it would be nice, at least just to recognize them for them being there, and see if they wanted to come in.
Fabulous. Thank you.
All right.
That's very thoughtful.
Thank you. Plamosa. So, wanted to mention this. This is the former Plamosa school site, just to get the
Sorry, I
See
can't
smiles.
stop smiling tonight.
to bring the board members up to speed. Not everyone's been here through the history of where we've been with Plamosa, so I wanted to touch on it really quickly. So I got here 2018. I believe this was probably a conversation before. I've seen appraisals for the site from the CRA before 2018, but at that time we had appraised the property. It was the $3.69 million. It seems like every year or so it comes up. Different commissioners bring this up as a potential. We reach out to the school board, ask if they're interested in selling. It hasn't quite happened to this point, but the appraisals range from $3.68 million in 2018. 2020, the school district appraised it for $5.8 million, and then in 2021, they appraised it for $9.2 million. So I believe more recently it came up at a city commission meeting to send a letter to the school district with the CRA. And it's, again, something that we've kind of been interested in because it's 10 acres of land right in the middle of Delray Beach. So I wrote a letter with Terrence just expressing to the district to see if they're interested in where they were. And we received a email stating that if we wanted to appraise the property, we could. I responded, that's fine, because we normally do appraise property to assess, if it's an opportunity for us or not. But I thought, we should bring it to our board to discuss, just so that we're all aware, or, give some input on interest. Last I heard from the district is they just wanted to talk about the appraisal. And I told them I wanted to bring it to our board, just, to see where everyone's thoughts are on it. So at this point, we can go forward with the appraisal. It's not very expensive, but just to see what the value is. I just think from the trend, it's gone from 3, 5, or 6 to 9. So it's probably more. Last time we appraised it was in 2021. Or 2. Well, for the value, we normally would get 2 appraisals. So, but again, wanted to just hear our thoughts here on this, since our group has not spoken about this collectively.
Are you finished now?
Yes.
Great. Mr. Long, would you like to amplify? I mean, I know you care about the school board issues. Do you want to comment on this, or were you finished with your comments?
I'm finished for now.
Okay. Mr. Marker.
Just one comment back on the grocery store situation. I echo what Rob had to say. We have to be careful there about the size of the store that we put in, because I do think you're going to run into traffic patterns there that could be really adverse. So I would definitely think, if we're going to approach grocery retailers, we want to think more about neighborhood size markets as opposed to a superstore. And I think we should do a traffic study, just so we don't get out over our skis and do something good that turns out to be bad. So I agree wholeheartedly with what you said.
Commissioner Casal.
The cost of the appraisals is minimal, correct?
It's a few $1,000s
Yeah.
each.
I think because there are tax credits available, this is really the only big piece of property left. I don't know if it makes great sense at $9 million, to be honest with you. I am not sure. But I think if we get the appraisals and we find out that they are in fact wanting to sell at that price, then maybe you could sit down with Smith Hensey and really get the numbers. I have a whole packet of information I can get you, Renee, because I got them. But to figure out because then we'll also be looking at an additional $1 million commitment from somewhere, because whenever you engage in these kind of projects, you're looking at it. But that's our purpose here. And I think if we can grab 10 acres of property and do affordable senior housing, affordable family housing, and a little bit of workforce housing, that's why we're here.
I agree. I think that, if we can get affordable housing, true affordable housing, and then that's our goal, then I think it's worth a challenge.
Great. I'll emphasize affordable. I mean, I don't know as for the components of whether we need senior housing. There's things I think
Seniors
there
are the demographic.
certainly communities that really need to have affordable housing and groups. So I would support that. My guess is the cost is going to be prohibitive, and I'm assuming the school board is going to sell, and I find that probably a long shot.
It might be, but I think why not just check it out and see? Because what do we lose? A couple $1,000s? It's worthwhile endeavor.
I'm not disagreeing.
And I do want to say that seniors are the demographic becoming homeless.
Yeah.
The affordable, exactly. Thanks for pointing that out, because we're talking I did that presentation in front of the commission. We're talking at the low level.
Yeah.
We have hardly any of that here.
Do we have to use the scale that is used for workforce housing? What is that? The AMI?
Yes.
Do we have to use
Yes,
that?
You do, but
We
there's
do,
3 levels.
Yes. There's different levels. I think so.
But when we're talking about what people can afford based on their salaries, then we go with the low.
We
Right.
can set, if we want to have it as lower, we can. So the last time when I spoke with them in 2021, we were proposing that if the CRA has it, we would kind of act as like the master developer, because there's a
Right.
lot of different groups in Del Rey that
Partnering with
can
all our-
provide
Yeah.
housing. So we had proposed some kind of split up and have different opportunities for different groups to participate. So that would give you various levels of housing. If we wanted to say, hey, we want it all lower, or we want to do lower to mid, we could set that, but we would kind of act as that overarching And everyone benefits. It would be developed, there's land, all the groups would have opportunities, because it's a
Right.
lot of land.
And
I haven't
frankly,
seen any true affordable housing come
There
yet.
actually is. I'll
Where?
tell you where it is. The
Oh,
lakes.
okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you.
Well,
There is.
that
There
is, I know.
But we
But
could
that's been there for
also
a while.
eliminate the workforce aspect because you don't get tax credits for that. And you
Well, the
could look
tax-
to do the whole project at the low. I
Right.
mean, there's a lot of ways you could do this that could hopefully
I mean, the
work.
only way that we'll know is if we do
We have
whatever
to
you
look
need
in-
to do.
right,
So,
exactly.
You know, if for 10 acres of land, I say it's worth
Thank you.
doing it.
Thank you, Renee. This is very exciting.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
So we can just start with the one appraisal
Yeah.
and see where we are.
Right.
And, we've done it back and forth over the years, so we're not really losing much, like you said, just a few thousand to appraise it.
Right.
And then we just, see where we are from there.
So, just so I can understand a little better, we exchanged emails with Joe Sanchez, right?
Yes, he asked if we wanted to appraise the property.
But he hasn't told us that they're on board. He just said pay for an appraisal, but we're not going to tell you if we're actually interested in selling it.
It's kind of how it's been over the years. Like, we've spoken to different staff members, and it's like, well, let's look into it, let's appraise it. And then the last 2021, what I was told is that they want to have teacher housing,
Yeah.
and they didn't want to sell any property. So that's kind of where
Right.
it left until this letter where they said if you would like to appraise it.
Yeah, I'm aware of that. That's
Right.
something they've been looking into, and they've kind of been in this holding pattern. I wonder if we could maybe have a dialogue with the superintendent or something first before we spend any money on an appraisal.
Do you think he'd ask us to spend the money knowing they're not going to sell it? That
Can you
would
just
not
say that
be
we've
very-
done that before?
It's since 2017. I think we were at one point we were hesitating too. I think in 2020
Yeah.
we said no at some point, and then we came back around in 2021, and the appraisal was $9 million. But that's when the whole teacher housing conversation came up, and then they came back and said they were going to put it on a workshop. It just never made it to a workshop. So
Okay. I mean, listen, I'm not going to hold up us doing the appraisal over it if it's like a small amount of money on our end. It's odd to me they won't tell us they're interested before we go ahead and spend money and
Well, I
resources.
think he'd have to get the amount that we're willing to pay and then present it to others. I mean, it's kind of a back and forth. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I think if the door were closed, he would have said, don't bother getting an appraisal.
I think in 2020 we were told that they would want the appraised value because they were getting offers from all over
Right,
the world.
private
They
offers.
want to right. They're getting private offers.
Developers will pay for this.
Right, exactly. So that's why
And
they
they're a public entity. They're going to have to get the highest price. I mean,
Well, but they
The board
also
would
have,
have to take the appraised value at a minimum.
right.
Right.
But you would think that they would be understanding that there's need for this kind of housing.
in 2021 we were proposing it's kind of more of a partnership, not so
Right.
much selling us, so that everyone benefits, the district.
Right.
Palm Beach County, I had a conversation with representatives from the county as well, and they were approaching this and they weren't successful, but hey, if you all are great.
Right.
And so it seems like it's some sort of thing where everyone could come together.
Right.
So that was what we were looking at in 2021, not so much a straight purchase per se, but somehow we could act as developer, we could see what the school district is wanting for their part, and everyone work together.
Right.
And
I think
then-
it's a great idea. It
but
would
that's where
be
the teacher
an
conversation
amazing
was.
accomplishment for our CRA, really. We would get a serious award for this.
I think we might as well continue through the process, but,
Okay.
to align expectations, I don't think the school board has sold any of its land assets in years. If they're willing to consider it, great. Again, I want to see the cost and see if it makes sense. I don't know. It's probably going to be over $10 million, but let's just, see what happens, I guess, for now. Great.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you.
Great. My turn. I just wanted to, if the board has not had a chance to visit the building that was done at 98 Northwest 5th, I know you did. You were there for the opening.
I've seen
So I
it.
would go there. It's really great. There's going to be, when is the juice store opening?
Hopefully in the fall.
Okay. They have a
Yes.
great juice store there too. So I just encourage you because they have
You
open
keep talking
workspace.
about that juice store.
Huh?
Well, I forget what it's called. You keep talking about that
I know.
juice store.
I had it. It was the best I'd had. I said, when he bottles it, he sells it some other
Rabbit
place.
Hole. Rabbit Hole.
Oh, I love Rabbit Hole.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
They make vegetarian meatballs that are so
So
good.
anyway.
And their broccoli.
Any
Oh
other
my gosh.
business coming before us? If not,
No.
That's
Thank
we are
you.
adjourned.
Thank you.
Good job.